I was halfway through fixing the old tractor fence when the white SUV rolled down my dirt road like it owned the place. Dust kicked up behind it, coating the tomato rows and settling on my boots. I leaned against the fence post and watched the woman step out wearing oversized sunglasses, a spotless white blazer, and the kind of expression people get when they think money makes them untouchable. She looked around my farm with disgust. "You're Daniel Harper?" she asked. "That depends who's asking." "I'm Cynthia Walsh, president of the Willow Creek HOA. I glanced around the open farmland stretching for miles. "You lost." Her jaw tightened instantly. "This property is in violation of multiple neighborhood codes." I actually laughed. "Neighborhood." She pulled out a clipboard and started reading dramatically. "Commercial vehicle parked in public view, improper fencing, unapproved agricultural structures, noise complaints, unsightly equipment." My old pickup sat beside the barn covered in mud after hauling feed all morning. "That truck?" I asked. "That eyesore, yes." I stared at her for a second. "You drove 3 miles down a private dirt road to complain about a truck on a farm. This community has standards." I nodded slowly. "And this community is over there." I pointed toward the expensive housing development sitting beyond the tree line. "My land, been here since before your fancy entrance sign." Her fake smile vanished. "Your property borders Willow Creek Estates. That makes it subject to community presentation standards." "No, it doesn't." "It absolutely does." I could already tell what kind of person she was. The kind who'd never been told no long enough to mistake arrogance for authority. I wiped sweat from my hands. "Ma'am, this farm belonged to my father before me. We've raised cattle here since 1978. I don't answer to your HOA." Her eyes narrowed when I said "my father." Some people hear old family land and get respectful, others get greedy. She was the second type. "We'll see about that." Then she walked back to her SUV like she just declared war. I should have ignored it. But 2 days later, the notices started arriving. Bright orange papers taped to my gate. "Final warning. Property noncompliance. Unauthorized vehicle storage. Fine $500. I crumpled the paper in my fist and drove into town. The HOA office sat inside a polished brick building beside a fountain shaped like a swan. Meanwhile, my boots still had chicken feathers stuck to them. Perfect contrast. The receptionist smiled nervously when I walked in. "I'm here to see Cynthia." "She's in a meeting." Shawana interrupted. Apparently my face convinced her. A minute later, Cynthia appeared wearing a beige pantsuit and a smug smile. "Mr. Harper, have you reconsidered compliance? You're fining farmland for being farmland. You border our residential district. My property is county agricultural land." She folded her arms. "Your truck alone lowers nearby property values. That truck hauled supplies during flood relief, while you were probably arguing about mailbox colors." Her smile twitched. "I'm giving you 7 days." "For what?" "To remove the vehicle and clean the property." I leaned closer. "You don't understand something. This land doesn't belong to your HOA. Your authority ends at your little decorative fence." Her voice hardened. "We'll see what the county says." I left angry but not worried. At least not yet. Because people like Cynthia usually bark more than they bite. Then the towing happened. It was barely sunrise when I heard the noise outside. Metal chains. Hydraulic whining. I stepped onto the porch and saw a tow truck backing toward my pickup. 3 men stood near the gate, while Cynthia watched from her SUV sipping coffee like this was entertainment. I stormed across the yard. "What the hell are you doing?" The tow driver shrugged awkwardly. Got an order to remove abandoned commercial vehicle. Abandoned, that truck ran yesterday. Cynthia stepped forward. It's in violation. This is private property. You failed to comply. I laughed in disbelief. You crossed my locked gate. HOA enforcement rights. No, sweetheart, that's called trespassing. Her face tightened at sweetheart. Remove the vehicle. The tow driver hesitated. Ma'am, this feels kinda questionable. I have legal authority. You absolutely do not, I snapped. But the chains were already hooked. My truck jerked backward as they started pulling it. That truck wasn't just transportation. My father bought it the year before he died. I rebuilt the engine myself after Afghanistan. Every dent had a story attached to it. Watching strangers drag it away from my own land felt personal. I stepped toward the driver. You tow that truck, and I promise you this won't end how she thinks it will. Cynthia smirked. Are you threatening him? No, I'm warning him. The driver looked genuinely uncomfortable. But money talks. The truck rolled away. And Cynthia smiled the entire time. You should have complied, she said softly. Then she drove off. I stood there in silence while dust settled across the empty driveway. That silence lasted maybe 30 seconds. Then I made a phone call. Not to the sheriff. Not to a lawyer. To someone I hadn't spoken to in almost 8 months. Colonel Reeves, I said when he answered. Long pause. Harper. I got a weird situation. He chuckled immediately. With you, it's always weird. I explained everything. The HOA. The towing. The trespassing. Then I gave him the detail that changed the tone completely. The tow happened near marker 7. Silence. Then. You're serious. Dead serious. You told them about the easement. They didn't listen. Another pause. Oh, this is gonna be bad. I stared out at my empty driveway. How bad? Daniel, did they cross the north field? Yes. With equipment? Yes. The colonel exhaled slowly. Stay home. That was all he said before hanging up. Now, here's the thing Cynthia didn't know. 30 years ago, before Willow Creek Estates existed, the federal government secured a military access easement across part of my farm. Most of it was inactive now, but legally protected land is still legally protected land. The North Field wasn't just farmland. It was reserved access territory. Technically speaking, nobody was allowed to obstruct it, build near it, or interfere with approved military movement. The developers had been warned years earlier. Apparently the HOA forgot, or thought rules only applied to other people. Around noon, another SUV pulled up outside my farm. This time it was the county sheriff. Sheriff Malone climbed out looking tired already. Daniel. Sheriff. I got complaints. From Cynthia. She says you threatened a towing company. I folded my arms. She trespassed and stole my truck. He rubbed his forehead. She claims HOA enforcement rights. That woman thinks she's Queen of America. He sighed because he probably agreed. Then he lowered his voice. Between you and me, she's been causing problems for months, filing complaints against everybody. Tried fining a retired teacher because her bird feeder was approved. Sounds about right. But Daniel, did military personnel contact you today? I looked at him carefully. Why? Because 3 black SUVs just flew past my office heading this direction. Right on cue, we heard engines. Deep engines. Heavy engines. The kind you feel before you see. Sheriff Malone turned toward the road. Then his eyes widened. A convoy rolled over the hill. Dark military vehicles. 2 armored transports. Several black government SUVs. Dust exploded behind them. And suddenly, my quiet farm looked like a deployment zone. Sheriff Malone whispered one word. "Oh no." The convoy stopped directly outside my gate. Uniformed personnel stepped out immediately. Not regular soldiers either. Military police. A tall officer approached holding documents. "Daniel Harper." "That's me." He shook my hand firmly. "Major Ellis." Then he looked toward the north field. "Were unauthorized civilians operating there this morning?" "Yes." His expression darkened. "Under whose authority?" I pointed toward the distant Willow Creek entrance. HOA President Cynthia Walsh. The major nodded once. Then he motioned to another officer. "Secure the area." Sheriff Malone looked completely lost. "Major, what exactly is happening?" Ellis handed him paperwork. Federal easement violation. Unauthorized interference with protected military access territory. Malone's face went pale while reading. "You're kidding." "No, Sheriff, I'm not." Within minutes, the convoy moved toward the north field. I climbed into Malone's cruiser so we could follow. And that's when things got incredible. Cynthia was standing near the field entrance, arguing with 2 contractors, installing decorative stone barriers. Decorative barriers. Directly across federal access land. I almost laughed. The moment she saw military vehicles approaching, her confidence cracked slightly. Then Major Ellis stepped out. "Who authorized construction here?" Cynthia lifted her chin. "I'm president of Willow Creek Estates." "That wasn't my question." She held up a folder dramatically. "This land falls under community beautification jurisdiction." Ellis didn't even blink. "This land falls under federal military easement protection." Silence. Her expression changed instantly. "I'd excuse me." The major pointed toward the barrier stones. "Remove those immediately." She recovered fast. "You can't speak to me that way." "Wrong answer." Ellis stepped closer. "Ma'am, your organization illegally interfered with protected access territory, trespassed on federally monitored land, and authorized unauthorized towing operations tied to easement obstruction." Her face drained of color. "I think there's been a misunderstanding." "No," he replied calmly. "There's been multiple violations." The contractors quietly backed away like they wanted no part of this. Sheriff Malone looked almost entertained now. Cynthia forced a smile. "Well, surely we can resolve this civilly." "We are resolving it civilly." Then Ellis nodded toward a military police officer. "Document everything." Photos started immediately. Vehicles. Barriers. Survey markers. Even the tire tracks from the tow truck. Cynthia finally looked nervous. Real nervous. She turned toward me. "You knew about this?" "Yep. And you didn't tell me." "I told you your authority ended at your decorative fence." Sheriff Malone nearly choked trying not to laugh. Cynthia's voice rose sharply. "This is harassment." Major Ellis stared at her. "You had a veteran's personal vehicle removed from his own agricultural property while operating illegally on federal easement land. I was enforcing standards. You were abusing authority." That hit hard, because suddenly she realized nobody here feared her. Not the sheriff. Not the military. Not even the contractors she hired. For the first time since arriving on my farm, Cynthia looked small. Then things got worse for her. One of the MPs approached Major Ellis carrying paperwork. "Sir, confirmed additional violation." Ellis scanned the page, then looked directly at Cynthia. "Your HOA installed surveillance equipment overlooking restricted access territory." Her mouth opened slightly. "It was for neighborhood security. Without authorization." "Silence." The major's voice became ice cold. "Remove every device immediately." Sheriff Malone muttered under his breath. "She's dead." Cynthia heard him. "This is insane. We were protecting residents." "You were monitoring federal land," Ellis replied. Now people from Willow Creek started gathering nearby. Residents whispered among themselves while watching military police photograph HOA property. Phones came out. People started recording. And Cynthia realized the worst possible thing was happening. Public humiliation. For people obsessed with control, embarrassment hurts more than punishment. One older resident stepped forward nervously. "Wait, are you saying the HOA lied to us?" Major Ellis answered plainly. The HOA exceeded its legal authority. Murmurs spread instantly. Another resident pointed toward Cynthia. "You told us Harper was violating community rules." She snapped defensively. His truck was lowering property values. The crowd reacted badly to that, because now everyone could see the situation clearly. A retired veteran living quietly on family farmland versus an HOA president acting like a dictator. And the optics were awful, especially with military personnel standing beside me. Then came the moment I'll never forget. The tow truck returned. Apparently the driver heard what was happening and decided he wanted no involvement whatsoever. He climbed out fast. "Sir," he said to me nervously, "I brought your truck back." "Good call." The MPs immediately began questioning him. Who authorized the tow? Did he receive proof of ownership? Was he informed the property was federally protected? The poor guy looked ready to faint. Meanwhile, Cynthia kept unraveling publicly. "This is being blown out of proportion." Major Ellis turned toward her slowly. "Ma'am, if military access had been required today, your unauthorized barrier could have obstructed operational movement." "I didn't know." "That's exactly the problem." Silence hit hard after that. Even the residents looked embarrassed now. Then Ellis delivered the final blow. "Until further review, all HOA activities affecting adjacent easement land are suspended." Cynthia blinked. "What?" "Effective immediately." "What?" "You can't suspend the HOA. I can suspend activities involving federal jurisdiction." Her lips trembled slightly. "This will destroy property values." Sheriff Malone finally spoke up. "No, Cynthia, your behavior did that. That one landed deep. Because it came from someone local. Someone who'd probably tolerated her nonsense for years." She looked around desperately for support. Nobody defended her. Nobody. Residents avoided eye contact. Contractors quietly loaded equipment. Even her own assistant stood several feet away pretending not to know her. Power disappears fast once fear stops working. By evening, the convoy prepared to leave. Barrier stones were removed. Survey flags replaced. My truck sat back in the driveway where it belonged. Major Ellis walked over before departing. "You all right, Harper?" "I've had worse Tuesdays." He laughed. Then his expression softened. "Your father helped establish this easement agreement, you know." "I know." "He'd be proud you defended it." That hit harder than expected. After he left, the farm became quiet again. Sunset spread orange across the fields while crickets started chirping. For the first time all day, peace returned. I thought it was over. It was, because the internet got involved. Remember all those residents recording on their phones? Yeah. Videos spread everywhere. HOA President humiliated Army. Military shuts down Karen HOA. Veteran fights back against illegal tow. Within 48 hours, Cynthia became locally infamous. County officials launched investigations into HOA practices. Residents demanded emergency meetings. Lawyers started circling like sharks. Turns out when people stop fearing an HOA, they suddenly remember all the illegal nonsense they tolerated. Selective fines, unauthorized fees, harassment complaints, even forged violation notices. One resident discovered the HOA had charged thousands in fake landscaping penalties. Another found out Cynthia approved contracts through her cousin's company. The whole thing exploded. And every explosion started with one stupid decision: towing my truck. A week later, I saw Cynthia one last time. She arrived at my farm alone. No SUV parade. No clipboard. No attitude. Just sunglasses hiding tired eyes. I stepped onto the porch quietly. "What do you want?" She looked around the property. Different this time. Less disgust. More exhaustion. I came to apologize. I waited. "For the truck," she added softly. "That all?" Her shoulders dropped. I thought I was protecting the community. "No, you were controlling people." She didn't argue. That surprised me. "I lost everything," she whispered. Turns out the HOA board forced her resignation 2 days earlier. Multiple lawsuits were pending. Residents hated her. And the county was auditing financial records. Power gone. Just like that. I studied her silently for a moment. Then I said something she probably didn't expect. "You could have just introduced yourself normally that first day." She looked confused. "You came onto my land looking for a fight. That's why this happened." A long silence followed. Wind moved softly through the fields. Finally, she nodded once. Then she walked back toward her car. Halfway there, she stopped. Did the army really need that land? I looked toward the north field. "Doesn't matter." "What do you mean?" "It mattered that people respected boundaries." She stood there quietly after that. Then she got in her car and left for good. These days, Willow Creek HOA barely bothers anyone anymore. Funny how that works. The new board focuses on gardens and holiday decorations instead of acting like a private dictatorship. And every now and then, a new resident asks about the old survey markers near my north field. The longtime neighbors usually smile before telling the story. About the day an HOA Karen had a veteran's truck towed from his own farm, and turned pale when the army arrived.